McAllen, Tex. The former president of Mexico was accused of taking a $100 million bribe from El Chapo. A former sheriff in South Texas took far much less from El Gallo, about $100,000. El Gallo, Thomas Reyes Gonzalez, a drug trafficker now in federal jail, equipped the money to the previous Hidalgo County Sheriff, Guadalupe Trevino, for his re-election marketing campaign. Another former Hidalgo County Sheriff took bribes to permit a convicted drug vendor to have conjugal visits on the county jail, together with within the jail library and within the sheriff's non-public workplace. Yet one other former sheriff in neighboring Cameron County protected and assisted cocaine sellers, and is now federal inmate No. $51,689,179. The corruption that took down these three border sheriffs in 1994, 2005 and 2014 continues at the moment. Next month, the previous police chief within the city of La Joya is scheduled to go on trial, after he was indicted on drug expenses and accused by federal authorities of serving to a drug trafficking group transport narcotics whereas working as a police sergeant in Progreso, Tex. The Elot Watch trial of the Mexican drug lord generally known as El Chapo, whose actual identity is Joaquin Guzman Loera and who was convicted final week in a New York courtroom, make clear the maintain the drug traffickers and their cash have on the police and politicians in Mexico. One witness at Mr. Guzman's trial testified that the Mexican president had taken a $100 million bribe in change for calling off a nationwide manhunt for the drug kingpin. But corruption and drug cash circulate on the United States aspect of the border as properly. Trevino and the opposite imprisoned former lawmen in South Texas are but a sampling. More than 100 native, state and federal legislation enforcement officers have been indicted on drug-associated corruption expenses on America's southwest border because the 1990s. In only one company, the Border Patrol, officers mention 77 workers have been arrested or indicted on corruption expenses within the fiscal years from 2005 to 2017. The money can be an extremely tempting thing, mentioned Kenneth Magidson, who served as the highest federal prosecutor in South Texas from 2011 to 2017 because the United States lawyer in Houston and whose workplace prosecuted Mr. Trevino and different former legislation enforcement officers. It's hard to say no. Trevino had constructed a long-time lengthy profession in legislation enforcement. His son is a former Mission, Tex, police officer now in federal jail for his position in a corrupt anti-drug job pressure. Trevino, now 69, returned to his hometown, McAllen, after he was formally launched from federal custody final month, but politely declined to remark. "I don't want to relive any of that stuff," he mentioned. In the Rio Grande Valley in Texas, drug cash has a muted but plain presence. It is clear not simply within the corruption scandals, but in on a regular basis life, because the illicit income of the drug commerce, gasoline, each legit commerce, and the underground financial system. Drug sellers and their family members and associates come to the valley to purchase luxurious automobiles, construct closely secured mansions, benefit from the nighttime life within the cities of McAllen and Brownsville, and gamble for money within the well-liked but unlawful slot machine casinos. Strong, a professor of communication on the University of Texas Rio Grande Valley in Brownsville and a 30-year resident of the world, known as Drug Cash, the WD-40 of the valley. It's the oil that makes the machinery work, in all kinds of ways that we don't fully understand, Professor Strong mentioned. No one is aware of precisely how a lot of that oil is lubricating the financial system. There is an underground economy that's fueled by drug proceeds, mentioned Willard. Glasby, the particular agent in command of the Drug Enforcement Administration's Houston Division, which incorporates the Rio Grande Valley. You see drug money that's being utilized to start businesses, prop businesses up. You have legitimate businesses that are unknowingly being supported by illegal drug money. I can't put a dollar figure on it, and I won't limit it to just the Rio Grande Valley. It happens in Houston. It happens in San Antonio. It happens in a lot of our border communities. Such exercise doesn't result in cartel gun battles in parking heaps or random road violence. Valley residents overall really feel secure, and are secure, as they benefit from the year-spherical sunshine beneath wind-tussled palm bushes in low-crime cities. McAllen had 0 murders in 2018, down from 7 in 2017. Brownsville had 2 homicides in 2018, down from 6 in 2017. Brownsville's Congressman, Representative Philemon B. Vela Jr., is so unconcerned about theft that he retains his keys in his automobile. To show his level, after a latest interview at a restaurant close to the federal courthouse that bears his father's identity, Mr. Vela walked to the parking zone, opened the door of his minivan and confirmed off the keys, on a tray subsequent to the cup holders. Many residents and officers hesitate to even talk about the presence of drug cash, fearing it is going to perpetuate the false narrative that border cities are chaotic, violent locations, a picture that could be a supply of nice frustration to many native residents. They mention the general public corruption in Texas border cities was no completely different from the general public corruption elsewhere across the nation. Obviously, we have a lot of issues along the border dealing with drug money and attempted bribery of many law enforcement, from our sheriffs to some of our border patrol agents and other law enforcement, but that also happens in Chicago and New York and a lot of other places, mentioned State Senator Juan Hinojosa, a Democrat whose district contains Mission and different border cities. It's not unique to the valley, but we're right on the border, so there's more of a focus on it. When Mr. Hinojosa labored as a lawyer in McAllen a long time in the past. He represented drug sellers who have been combating their expenses in court docket. He had only some instances, he mentioned. Back in the early 80s and the 70s, it was different in the sense that a lot of the defendants in criminal drug cases would pay cash, Mr. Hinojosa mentioned. I cannot verify, but I've heard attorneys who were offered $50,000, $60,000, $80,000 cash, he mentioned. I think law enforcement has really clamped down, not only on drug smuggling but the Wild West culture that used to exist. The affect of the drug commerce runs slightly below the floor of valley life. People typically brush up in opposition to it unexpectedly. One March nighttime final year on the Sky Sports Bar and Lounge in Brownsville, the night was winding down when a younger man all of a sudden pulled out a handgun, informed everybody he was a United States Marshal and ordered the patrons to depart or face arrest. On his neck was a gold Cameron County District Attorney's Office badge. The younger man, it seems, was neither a marshal nor a prosecutor. He was the son of the previous head of Mexico's Gulf Cartel. Osiel Cardenas Jr., 26, was arrested that nighttime after officers discovered him, intoxicated, within the parking zone. That's kind of one of those surreal moments, mentioned Agent Glaspie with the DEA. Cardenas's father was sentenced in 2010 to 25 years in a federal jail in Colorado generally known as the Alcatraz of the Rockies, the identical one the place El Chapo is more likely to be dispatched. In Brownsville, Mr. Cardenas was convicted of a firearms cost and impersonating a marshal. A former Sky Bar worker mentioned Enterprise noticeably dropped within the aftermath of the incident. But that was months in the past. Lately, Enterprise has bounced again.